Good morning. Welcome to the Carla Marie and Anthony Show. We are live at our headquarters here in Seattle, Washington. It is Tank Top Tuesday.
Tank Top Friday.
I used to do Tank Top Friday. The problem is we don't do this show on Friday.
Oh, but you need the most amount of people to have eyes on these things.
I just feel like it's something we should all do together. Like I could do Tank Top Friday for the morning show podcast. It's just not the same. You know?
I feel like Tank Top Thursday would be best because it's closest to Friday.
So the reason I did Tank Top Tuesday today, I don't know if this is really going to be a thing. Because I did Tank Top Friday for
it's
2 years.
It is sunny out right now.
It was sunny yesterday. It is sunny today. So I am ready for the summer. But on top of that, it is March Madness, right? This is really the week. I know the tournament doesn't start until next Thursday, but this is conference championship week. And this is when the madness really starts. This is when you have teams that don't deserve to even be in the big tournament steal their bids by winning their conference tournaments. And the next time you see me, which will be Thursday morning, Seton Hall might be done playing basketball. Okay. So I wanted to wear the jersey and celebrate March Madness while my team was still playing. Now, there is a very good chance that Seton Hall will at the very least, be playing in the NIT, which is like the B-level tournament. Used to be the number 1 tournament, and now it's the number 2 tournament. Rutgers.
I don't know what's happening.
Rutgers is essentially, their tournament starts on Thursday, their conference tournament, Big Ten in Chicago. But you could consider it a play-in game for the Big Boy Conference, the Big Boy Tournament, because they and Michigan are really at the same level. They're both bubble teams right at the cusp of being in. And the theory is whichever team wins that game will advance to be in the main tournament, the NCAA tournament.
All right. Well, I'm just waiting to find out where they are. I was going to travel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a good idea at the moment.
With your kidney stones?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you passed it on a plane? That would probably be pretty bad.
Well, we'll get into that.
On a plane?
Well, my appointment.
Oh, okay. So we will talk about that. Also, you'll notice the list today. It's not as detailed as it normally is, mainly because starting the show today, there were 3 different technical issues that I had to run through. I spent about 30 to 35 minutes trying to get the show started today. And when it got to writing the list, I was like, you know what? I don't care right now. And I wrote March Sadness because really, at the end of the day, only one team finishes not sad.
That's how sports are.
I know. That's why we should start talking about the depression that sports causes.
Slap. Games.
Yeah. Let's see. Miguel in Miami, Florida said, I'm glad because University of Miami won the ACC. Go Canes. That is, it's their first ACC conference championship, cool. I believe, in a decade. So congratulations to all of the good teams out there. They're not from Jersey. We do have one Jersey representative in the tournament already.
I forget.
Fairleigh Dickinson University.
So random.
Hackensack, New Jersey. A place where, did you ever run track meets? Did you ever do indoor track?
No. We didn't
so in New Jersey.
But we cheered there. All of our cheering competitions were there.
It's a weird stadium. It's a weird arena because they have their bleachers and a lot of like high school or smaller college bleachers, you can roll them in. You know what I mean? They like fold in. Did you have those in high school?
Yes.
FDU has those as well. But they're in the middle of their indoor track. So when you're running around their track, there are dark alleys, essentially. Yes.
Their bleachers are weird.
That you have to run behind on their 200-meter track. It's really, really weird. But shout out to FDU. Hackensack, New Jersey. Collapsible. What did I say?
Fold it. You said fold it in or something, and then Martha said fold in the cheese.
Yeah. Collapsible would have been the word I was looking for. So what do you got going on, Carla Marie?
Well, yesterday I had my appointment with the urologist to go over the passage of my kidney stone. And she said that let's hold off on doing a procedure because according to the CAT scan, this puppy is halfway through my ureter already. Wow. So she's like,
Did you even know you had a ureter?
Yeah, it's the tubes.
I always thought it was just the urethra.
That's the tube after the bladder.
Oh.
So it goes kidneys, ureters, bladder, urethra.
Oh.
The
So you have 2 ureters and 1 urethra.
yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. The way they name things, it's unbelievable. So she said that let's try to pass it. So I am chugging water, and she prescribed a medication for me that is technically often prescribed to older men who can't pee, but it's also used, the only time it's ever used for women is if they have kidney stones, because it actually relaxes and opens up your tubes.
Okay. For the older men, is that like a prostate thing?
Yes, I think because I was reading it yesterday, relieves inflammation of the prostate,
Okay.
and then you can pee better.
Makes sense.
So she's got me on this medicine. We're doing this for a month, and then at the next month appointment, we'll decide, all right, it's still not out. When are we doing this?
Okay.
So she's like, there's a chance you pass it and you don't even know. So then I'll have
How would you pass it? You would feel it if you passed it.
No, so she said most of your pain is over.
Oh, really? Because it moved out of the kidney?
Yes. And because I don't feel it right now, and it's just sitting in the little tiny tube. But this medication, I have to take it at night. It causes extreme drowsiness, can make your blood pressure drop to the point where you're like, I'm woozy.
Okay, so you'll fall asleep quick.
And it makes you super congested. And I was like, oh, that won't happen. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, I can't breathe. And that's why I sound like this today. So now, just battling.
What a week.
Battling through.
What a week. So 4 weeks is what you've got to hang out for. And if it's not passed, well, she said you might not even know if you pass it, right?
Yes, you might
so
not know.
How will you know by the end of 4 weeks if you've passed it or not?
She's actually going to send me for x-rays instead of CAT scans, hopefully, because I guess it's less radiation. But we'll see.
What a time to be alive.
But she's like, it's also worrisome that this is now your second one and you're only 35 years old. So we're going to do some testing after this thing is out of you.
But aren't kidney stones pretty common?
Yes, but not necessarily this young unless there is...
young, says the person that's 35 now.
...is an underlying issue. And I told her about how my whole family has it. And she's like, that's crazy because it's both sides of my family. And I told her how I had SIBO. And part of SIBO can cause issues because you get so much bacteria, your body can't break down certain things. And
so explain SIBO to people who may have missed that.
Small intestine bacterial disorder. So there's an overgrowth of... small intestine bacterial overgrowth. There's an overgrowth of bacteria in my small intestine. And when that happens...
Very self-explanatory.
When that happens, your body can't break down things properly, and it causes all kinds of things. And one of them is a calcium issue, which causes kidney stones. And I'm not on the SIBO diet. We're doing that like later.
Yeah.
Because my doctor said it's not 100% proven effective. But this doctor said to me, if you have SIBO and you have something else, which is oxalate something that can cause kidney stones, she said, I don't know what you're going to eat. And I was like, cool.
Just lettuce?
Yeah.
Lettuce and rice for the rest of your life.
But when I signed on to the appointment, she was like, so happy birthday.
Oh, cool.
I was like, thanks.
My brother Justin said, I thought they were common in men, but not women. Is there a gender difference between kidney stones?
More common in men, yes.
Okay. Hulgy, thank you very much for the subscription of the Prime. Also, Miguel in Miami, Florida. Don't think I missed you. I saw the 1,000 bits. Appreciate that. And Aaron from Pittsburgh resubbed with Prime as well.
Also, she found my CAT scan from 7 years ago.
Yes.
I didn't know where it went, like, online-wise. And it turns out it was through the doctor she used to work for, and they merged, like, practices with one that I'm at now.
Oh, okay.
It was bizarre. And she's like, you didn't have this stone 7 years ago. I thought I did. She's like, you had none when you did this CAT scan.
So where'd you come up with the kidney? Where'd you find that kidney stone from 7 years ago?
Where'd I find it?
Like, where did that come from?
I thought in my mind, I had it. I thought I remembered her having one.
So you made up a whole story?
No, I went for a CAT scan.
But they never told you had a kidney stone.
I thought I did, but I had cysts on my ovary. So I think I was just like, dude, it was 7 years ago. You don't remember anything.
No, I know that's a thing. We sometimes make up memories in our heads.
That's definitely what happened.
That's what happened.
So she was like, which means that this thing grew within the last 7 years.
Lisa just said our friend has one too. She's 41 and it was her first one, but also hereditary.
Yeah. So this is not leftover.
No.
So which means I passed that other one from when I was 21.
If you had one. Oh.
At 21.
At 21.
I
Gotcha.
had more than one.
Okay.
Definitely had more than one.
Let's see. Most memories over a decade are barely even similar to true events. It's funny that my brother, who in the chat is Jolly Russian Buddhist, is the one to say that memories over a decade old are barely similar to true events. Because if there is one person whose stories from when he was a child don't necessarily add up when they're fact checked, it would be my brother Justin.
I think that happens with younger siblings only because
He just said he knew exactly where I was going because he just said I stopped doing that.
So do you just not talk about your childhood or you just tell the truth?
I don't know. Continue that.
But I think with younger siblings, like, and you're how much older than he is? 5?
7 years older.
7 years older. Like, you're like, dude, that didn't happen. But we're like, Ashley and I, we're close to the same age. So we have the same thing made up in our head.
So you have the same fake
We have
memories.
the same fake memories.
Well, I also do think when you're young, you've got a wild imagination, right? And it's easy to, when you're trying to access those memories, to conflate the two, to conflate the things you thought of in your head. And we all do this. We all have, even as adults, you have these fake arguments you get into in the shower, right? You as you're driving,
Everywhere.
you're having a conversation with someone, you're trying to, and I think you sometimes conflate those, you mix those together with your actual memories because they're so real in your head when you're playing them out.
My cousin, she's my older cousin. She has my mom's like, dude, I don't know where you get this from.
Who is this?
My older cousin. She
Okay.
said something like, oh, she's like, Taylor's doing a project for school. Nanny, our grandma, she's like, so when she was born in Italy, my mom's like, what? She's like, yeah, she was born in Italy. My mom's
Was
like,
she born in Hoboken?
she was born in Hoboken, New Jersey. And this is like 2 years ago. And I'm like, dude, I've known this forever. Where are you getting this from? And she was convinced that my great-grandparents met in Italy, which my whole life, this has never been the story.
Was your grandfather born in Italy?
They were both born in Italy, but they met in Hoboken.
Oh, okay.
At like church or whatever, and then had my grandma here.
So your great-grandparents born in Italy. Where was your grandmother born in Hoboken?
Yeah.
Where was your grandfather born? Lyndhurst?
No, are you talking about, that's a different side of the family.
Okay. Where the person that your grandmother married
Yeah.
is who?
No, I think he was born in Hoboken too.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You're making it sound like
Well, then the other side of my family
Okay.
is the Oranges, New Jersey.
the Oranges.
Mhm.
Shout out to the Oranges. Shout out to South Orange, New Jersey specifically, home of
Idiots.
WSOU, Seton Hall Pirates.
WSOU.
Yeah.
The radio station?
Mhm.
Isn't the whole school there?
Yeah, but I just wanted to shout out the radio station.
Okay.
Do you know what WSOU stands for?
Well, W.
Yes.
Seton something University.
No, I'm assuming it's South Orange University.
Oh.
SOU. I would assume. No one ever told me that's what it was, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
WSOU, Pirate Radio. Julie, thank you very much for that hydration reminder.
Yes, I need it. Can you guys text me all day?
You've
Please
got
don't do that.
You have to hydrate a lot. Like, how much did she tell you? Did she give you like a
I had to
prescribed
drink
amount of
about
water?
2.5 of these a day. 100 ounces.
100? Oh, that's basically what I drink. I drink 100 to 120 every day.
Everyone I talk to who has had kidney stones is like, I don't wish this on anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there are a few people I would wish this on.
I don't. I think my dad may have had a kidney stone once, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, this is a great radio question. Melissa, what does the W stand for?
Yes.
So if you'll notice, there's a whole bunch of radio stations in America that start with W. Z100 is WHTZ, KTU is WKTU.
WKTU.
And then there's a whole bunch that start with K. We were on KPWK, KBKS, like all these.
Neither of those exist anymore.
Nope.
KUBE also doesn't exist anymore.
All radio stations east of the Mississippi start with W. All radio stations west of the Mississippi start with K.
Yep.
And then the actual letter, though, we looked this up, and what does the letter mean?
I don't believe it means anything because in Canada it's is it C? And then Mexico is X, I believe. And all 4 letters together make up the call letters for a radio station. Is it C?
Canada? I don't know.
Either way. WPLJ, RIP, my favorite station. Another one that's not around anymore. Vicky said Tones' look is straight out of the streets of Miami.
I know someone said you need.
Every time I think of the sunscreen on the nose, I think of the camp counselor from Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah.
Camp Anawana, we hold you in our hearts.
Oh, I just had his name and then it went away.
Jill asked a question. Do you know JV, the radio host who is missing? So if this is not a story that came across your newsfeed, it's a pretty sad story.
Yeah.
JV has been on the air in San Francisco. He was on New York for a little bit, I believe, on Free FM. Kind of a legend in San Francisco radio. And at this point, over a week ago, right?
Yeah.
Over a week ago, he left his home on a Thursday night and disappeared. And the consensus now is that he, I guess, most likely took his own life.
Yeah, there hasn't been that much information revealed, but we never met him.
Mm-hmm.
We knew of him.
I saw him once at an iHeart festival, and he just said, like, hi. That was it. But I've heard great things about him. And
he knew of us because didn't he have to listen? I don't remember. There was something where we had to listen to his show.
I don't know.
But that's just crazy.
And I guess about 2 years ago, he got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and he's been dealing with a lot of pain. And because he had addiction issues in the past, there were certain Lyme disease medications that he had to stay away from, which obviously didn't help the pain because those were all pain meds.
Yeah.
So it's just really, really, really sad thing. But his wife came out last week and announced that they don't think he's coming back.
It's crazy.
So
just it's so awful. And like when it hits like a community like the radio community where like you may not know him, right? You may not have ever met him, but because of the community that radio is, you know him, you've listened to his show, you understand why he's so successful. Like he was used as an example, his show to us often.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't know the person, but like, oh, I know a lot about that person.
And you also know people who have worked with him. You know people like Scuba Steve is someone we're pretty close with. JV gave Scuba Steve a start, basically. Strawberry's worked with him. We know Strawberry very well. Lizette has known him. Lizette's sister worked with him. So these are all people that you end up, because it is such a small community, like Carla Marie said earlier, you know enough about someone, and you feel connected with so many people. Yeah. It's a weird community. We've said this before, where even if you just know someone on social, like if someone hit us up from the radio community and said, hey, I'm in Seattle. It happened with E. White.
Yeah.
From Minneapolis. He was in town, hit us up. We grabbed dinner with him. He could have stayed over if he wanted to. Like, it's cool. a very interesting community where I'd say like 95% of it is pretty tight. There's some outliers. They're whack jobs, but
I mean, we all are.
We're all a little crazy. That is true. Thursday's show. We got to talk about this real quick since we're at the halfway point of today's show. We will most likely be doing a show on Thursday. Here's a little caveat to that. So I am traveling tomorrow. I'm going back to New Jersey for a funeral that will be on, the services are Friday and Saturday. I need to figure out where I'm going to do the show from, because normally I do it from my parents' house. But since people might be traveling in for the services and staying with my parents, that's usually the place, that's like the hotel for my whole family. I don't want to be doing this show in the middle of our living room, just yapping and taking shots and whatnot. So I've got to find a place. Hopefully we will be on. I might go to the Roosevelt's office.
That's
we'll see.
Ridiculous.
Why?
It's so far.
It's 40 minutes. We'll see. We'll figure
What
it
are your
out.
Brothers.
My brother might not have internet for me. Strong enough internet. So we'll figure it out. Might take the day off, might not. So it's interesting. We're totally fine taking the day off if that's where it leans to. But if we can do the show, we're going to do the show.
Yeah, the other option was I was going to guest host with someone, or they were going to guest host with me. And then Anthony realized last night, you can't do that if he's taking the computer, which is basically our Twitch machine.
Yeah. So my laptop is what we run the show from, and it's also what I edit the morning show podcast on. So
we can't do that.
Yeah, the guest host thing isn't going to work. But hopefully soon we'll have an actual PC here, like an actual computer that goes under the table, not on top of it.
Can I plug my Mac into that?
No, you would just use that.
But then, and you can also do that from the road.
What?
But then if we're on the road, we'd not take.
Oh, we could no. Then we would take my laptop. My laptop would just be for the road.
Yes.
That desktop computer, I don't want to call it a desktop. It would be a desk under. No one puts it on top of their desk. Do people put PCs on top of the desks? I guess now because they look so cool. Like if you get one of the cool looking ones with all the lights.
I guess ours was originally. Like that tower back in the 90s was definitely on top of the desk.
Our tower, the home computer, if you will, I feel like we had a very specifically designed computer desk that had a narrow nook, but it was on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, correct me if I'm wrong.
That makes sense.
I think
He's
was.
not going to know.
He might.
We just went over this.
We both played a lot of Heroes of Might and Magic on that computer.
I played a lot of solitaire and the little gnome game where you would throw snowballs and then they go, oh.
The gnome game?
Yeah.
Free ski?
No. They were gnomes and they were like kind of mean and like I think when you hit them with snowballs, they would bleed and die. You would throw them and they go, oh.
I don't remember that one. Karina from New York, narrow cubby on the bottom and then the printer tray next to it. Monica from Phoenix, hers is on her desk at work, so she has a desktop computer. There are some now though, because I mean, growing up, even if you were like the cool person that got a Dell, right, and it came in that the cow print box.
That's what we got.
Once you took it out of the box, they were ugly machines. They were either that
white.
Weird gray, white, or black. That's all you had. And now desktops are like they're clear. They've got
cool.
RGB lighting. They've got
like the
wires, and it's so cool.
I remember
Oh, Gateway has the cow print. Thank you very much, Lenny.
Yeah, we had a Gateway 3000 or Gateway 2000, whatever it was. But my brother bought it it was the family computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like the day it got delivered in the big box. And we were like, and like, it's crazy to think, but you don't realize like that's the day your life changed forever. As a nut, like kids today, they're just whatever. But the day you got your first family computer is the day your life changed forever.
I feel like the day you got AOL. Like when your family finally installed AOL, because
it came free with the computer for us. We got like a pack.
And then you get the 6-month trial.
And then you just keep getting them somehow.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever paid for AOL.
I'm sure we did at some point, but because I do remember being much younger and getting like the first Macintosh computer, which I'm sure if we saved would have been worth a pretty penny at this point, but it was the first like Macintosh all-in-one computer. It was this tall, and it was like there was the Paint program on there that I'd use.
I loved Paint.
Oregon Trail, but you'd need a floppy disk or something for all of them.
I didn't use Oregon Trail at home, only at school.
I feel like yeah, you're probably right. I probably only used it at school.
Ashley in here, who is I believe 19, said, "I'm so confused with what you're talking about with old computers because I grew up with MacBooks." And stuff.
It's crazy. And here's something that's wild, and I hope Rain and Ashley appreciate this one. I remember, because there was a time in your life where only like one family in your extended family or your group of friends had a computer.
Yeah.
And my Uncle Nick, if he needed anything printed out, because he lived in the same town as me, he lived with my grandmother, and we lived in Ridgewood, New Jersey. If he needed something printed out, he would call me at 12 years old or whatever, and he would say, "Hey, Anthony, start the computer because I'm gonna drive over now." And keep in mind, this is before cell phones, so he would call from my grandmother's house. He'd call our home line to rev up
MapQuest directions,
to rev up the computer, basically, because it would take like 10 minutes to start.
So crazy.
Now you just fire up a MacBook and it takes 2 seconds.
I remember I was like doing a computer clean out and I deleted all the cookies, which apparently you need. And
why do you need cookies
on the computer?
You don't really need them.
Well, it wiped the whole, like it wouldn't turn on. My brother had to go get it fixed. It was a whole big thing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it is very much like telling someone to preheat the oven on your way home. It wouldn't take that long.
And you know what's crazy? Now they have apps for these ovens. You just do it.
Yeah, that's true.
On your phone.
Scotty said, "Anthony, you should do an old man crackle voice." Ashley and Rain, let me tell you about when I was a kid. It is crazy, and here's the craziest part to me is our generation was the last generation, the only generation really that remembers the remembers very vividly the pre-computer time,
Yeah.
but also grew up with computers.
Yes.
Like from a very young age. But we also forgot how bad things were, because every time this computer takes more than like 3 seconds to turn on, I'm like, oh my God, I need a new computer.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I very quickly forgot that when I first had my computer, it would take 10 minutes to turn on.
And my laptop will die super quick right now. And I'm like, I gotta go plug it back in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I used to be tethered to the wall.
Yeah. You'd have one computer for the whole house.
And what's crazy, I forgot what I was going to say to Ashley, and well, Rain's not in here. We're talking.
We're going to watch at some point.
There was something I was going to say to Ashley about remembering. Oh, like AOL, like dial up. You couldn't use the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have, there wasn't necessarily internet. I mean, there was, but you had to use your phone line, which, I mean, what genius figured that out? You can use a phone line. It was great.
Al Gore or something.
Home phone line. So you had one phone for the whole house, like the phone number or whatever for the most part. And if your mom picked up the phone while you were using the internet, it would kick you off.
Yeah. There was always panic. You would hear the phone ring.
Or you'd hear a click when they picked up the phone.
And you'd scream, don't pick up the phone. Yeah, it was crazy. Do you remember scheduling times with your friends
to go on
AOL and to go on AM and chat? You'd be like, all right, I'll be on tomorrow at 7:00.
And then if they weren't there, they'd be like, sorry, my mom said I had to clean the dog. Whatever.
It is crazy.
It was crazy. It really was, but I don't wish that I had internet my whole childhood.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. There's two ways to think about this, right? The first way to think about it is like, oh, we're so lucky we got to remember the pre-internet days, right? But I blame our generation and our parents' generations more for the internet craze than I do younger generations today. Yes, they are on it more often because it's part of their lives, but I think younger generations that grew up with internet their whole lives don't think it's as special as it is, and actually know how, and comprehend how to use it and understand that taking a break from it is okay.
But with internet,
kind of like the new Gen Z dumb phone trend.
I think they got over that, but yeah. But with internet comes social media platforms, and I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I didn't have Instagram and Snapchat in elementary school and high school, because like, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, I do. I feel bad for the first generation, the first group of kids that had to go through school with social media, because there's like no
much
rules.
Bullying. It was my nieces. I watched it.
But I also think that the next couple generations, it'll level out.
I think
there will be more regulations. There will be.
Well, yeah.
I think because it'll be part of the fabric of society, I think we'll be able to handle it better. I also blame older generations for the misuse of social media more than I blame younger generations.
Oh, my parents.
Kids will bully each other wherever. Kids are going to bully one another. And yes, it's terrible when you go home and you're dealing with bullying on social media as a child. I'm not trying to diminish that at all. But kids were bullied before social media.
No, absolutely. You know what I mean? But it's intensified.
But
it does come home with you.
And that's the thing. I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm just trying to say that bullying is not a social media problem. It's made a little worse, but it's still something that parents and administrators need to be aware of and active in fighting. But I still think we use social media, and our parents' generation is even worse, because everything your kid does is on social media. Everything you think goes to social media. It's almost like adults are using it as we'd imagine children using it.
Yeah. It's
really bad.
Just absolute chaos.
I mean, the amount of parents I see that are posting like questionable things on social media
about their kids, or
about everything, about their own lives, about their kids. I'm like, what are you doing? Not everyone needs to know this stuff.
Well, everyone needs to know about my kidney stone.
That's a little different. But I've seen adults put their drama. Oh my God, my husband did
this.
That's
Facebook. It's not Instagram.
Oh my God, my husband did this. Isn't he such an idiot? And it's like, whoa. lady.
Every once in a while, I'll go to Facebook and I'm like, the drama
Yeah.
that is happening here.
Yeah. It is crazy.
Okay, there was a few people saying that they miss AIM.
Yeah.
And we used AIM
hmm
at Elvis's show,
Until it died. Basically.
right? Yeah, because we were there when they turned it off.
I think they turned it off in 2016 or
You're right. So we
2017.
had moved. So at Elvis's show, so the best way to describe AIM for those that don't know, AOL Instant Messenger, it became separate of logging onto AOL, which is actually another thing that's crazy to explain.
Mhm.
But it was kind of like Slack or Discord is a good way to describe it because you had chat rooms and
But you could also privately message people.
and you could privately message. But we at Elvis's show, because we were all like in different studios while it was live, we would use AIM to communicate with each other and get each other's breakfast orders. And you would have something called an away message, which the best way to describe it in today's world is that new stupid thing that Instagram created.
The away message on Instagram?
Yeah, basically, if you go to your DMs, it's those things at the top. So it would be that. And I saw Game Day Creative say something about emo lyrics in your AIM messages.
Yeah.
And it felt, well, I guess is AIM message, AIM away message. It felt like emo lyrics were literally written for away messages.
Yes.
Like the perfect one-liners.
And it was always great because you posted those messages with someone in mind, right? It was like your crush or your ex or your current boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it was. You would have it was Fall Out Boy, Gym Class Heroes,
Taking
Taking Back Sunday. You'd have some 2-line combo from one of their songs. The Used was a good one. Yeah.
It's called, for Facebook, we used to call it vague booking.
Yep.
On Elvis's show, that's what we called it.
Vague booking was my least favorite trend. It is. I know it's still a thing. It's still very much a thing. Where you post something that's clearly directed at one person, but you don't have enough information to figure out what the person did or who the person is. And yeah, Karina from New York. It was the first taste of passive-aggressive behavior.
Ashley said, I'm
Absolutely.
confused again.
What are you confused about, Ashley?
It's crazy because, like, generations...
Ashley, if you can call us, you can ask us any old internet question you want.
Generations before us, like, it was so easy to explain things because it was just so... Yeah, we had a rotary phone, and this is how you dialed, and you moved on. I feel like it's so hard to explain this era.
Well, it's not. That's not even like a Gen X or a millennial thing. I think the problem is technology changes so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, even go back 5 years and what you could do on your iPhone. If someone just got their first iPhone today, and you were trying to explain stuff from 6 or 7 years ago, totally different experience. It's kind of crazy.
I think about that often. What Justin just said is try to explain a cell phone to someone 100 years ago. Because my grandpa, he died in 96, right? So he's never seen an iPhone.
Right before a cell phone, yeah.
And I'm always like, if he came back, I'd have to be, even my grandmas who died 10 years ago. Like, it's so different.
Yeah.
And just to be like, oh, we can call anyone in your family. Is there someone that moved far away? And you could see their face.
I think about it this way. So my grandparents, all 4 of my grandparents were born overseas. But I'm going to use my mom's parents in this example. Both of my grandparents were born in Palestine, in Bethlehem and Nazareth, like with Jesus, essentially. They were like, hey, Jesus, he's in my kindergarten class. They grew up in an area of the world where in the early 1900s, like my grandfather was born in 1912, allegedly. There was like 3 cars in town. They probably had to walk to someone else's home or to a business to get a phone line. And by the time my grandfather passed away, he had a cell phone.
That's crazy.
What a wild concept. By the time he passed away, his grandchildren were each walking around all willy-nilly with their own telephones in their pockets and their own cars and credit cards.
I wish he wrote a book about it.
They had a bank in their pocket in the form of a credit card. How insane is that?
That is crazy.
In under 100 years. 1912, and I believe he passed away in 03.
But like, what could happen in the next 100?
It's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
be
nuts.
so mad. I want to know.
It's gonna be even more drastic because at the rate of
People
which
will teleport.
technology advances now.
I think people will teleport. Well, you know what? We're talking about this. My grandpa knows about phones. Because I tell you what, when I'm in heaven, because that's where I'm going,
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching everything.
Okay.
I'm going to be like, what is everybody doing today?
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it this way. If you just got Instagram, stories, reels, Instagram, all of those things make sense. You would have to explain to someone who just got Instagram today that, oh no, when you first got Instagram, it was a picture
Just thinking
and
this.
you could put a frame around it.
Like,
Like that was it.
there was a time, literally a few years ago, where Instagram stories didn't exist, right? When we started doing the Where in America or Carla Marie Anthony thing with
Yeah.
Delta, that was so hard to say. We had to use Snapchat because Instagram stories did not exist. And then with stories, there was something that was different. Like, you couldn't tag in them. You couldn't even write in them at first.
Yeah. All these are pretty new.
You couldn't download them. Like, it was just so insane.
There's another question that Ashley, and for anyone who's watching this on YouTube later or doesn't know, Ashley, you're out of high school now, right? Or are you still in high school?
She's 19.
19. But our resident, like, I guess, high school ager, Gen Zer, if you will.
Yeah, Gen Z.
So another question she had, because someone mentioned minutes on their phones. She said, what happens when you run out of minutes? Which is a great question because I don't believe when I got a cell phone, I had minutes.
My dad.
Or maybe it was a family plan, like we all had
Yes.
a large pool of minutes.
So your phone wouldn't stop working. You would just pay, like, if you went over your allotted plan for that month, you would have to pay like double the amount of money or something along those lines. Like, I don't know what the exact calculation was, but if you had 100 minutes a month for your family to use, which today would be great because no one calls anyone.
Yeah. But you also had a text limit.
You had limited text, not even a limit. Texts were 20 cents to send and like
And
10 to receive
yeah.
for the longest time.
Yep.
And so they made it cheaper to receive because what if you were like, I don't want them? You couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
And then there became like plans and then obviously unlimited.
It's just, but this is like any technology, and I'll say this a million times, any technology, when you see when it's introduced compared to a couple of years down the line and then a decade after that, it's always going to be wildly different. Think of video games, the first Nintendo compared to Super Nintendo, compared to N64.
I miss who said it, but they said this is Moore's Law, Moore.
Yes.
Moore's Law, in simple terms, is it states that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles every 2 years. The law claims that we can expect the speed and capability of our computers to increase every 2 years because of this, yet we will pay less for them.
Yeah. And it's the exponential growth of it as well.
So you can apply that to technology in general, I feel.
The other thing, I feel like we talked about this on the Morning Show podcast recently. The other thing to think about is when a new technology is introduced, there are two things that can happen. One, it's going to be super, super expensive. Think of, this is going to be a crazy one for someone like Ashley, flat screen TVs.
Oh.
Or plasma TVs or whatever you want to call them. But flat panel televisions today.
Well, watch the episode of The Office.
They used to be big and
So much
boxy.
money.
And those first flat screen TVs were thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for not even a large, good picture.
No.
But as more and more people buy it, the companies making them are resourced better and they can drop the price because more people are buying
phones.
them. The other thing that can happen in terms of the proliferation of technology is if you don't make it super expensive for the consumer,
Right.
someone has to essentially subsidize it. So electric vehicles, the government subsidized $4,000 or $5,000 to get those things on the road, and they still do. VR headsets. Facebook has lost so much money because if they charged everyone the actual cost for an Oculus, it would have been thousands of dollars. So they said, we're going to eat the cost in hopes that this gains traction. Now, that was a bet for Facebook that so far has not panned out, but I think it will eventually.
Okay, so our electric car is going to be super cheap in a few years? I'll wait till then.
They're definitely going to get cheaper, and they'll get more reliable as more people have them, and there's more research done, and so on and so forth.
I want one so bad.
What else? Ashley said, I only remember having flat screen TVs. I had one in my room since I was like 8. Here's the crazy thing.
Oh.
What?
Are you going to talk about the little tiny little TVs and then they would have a VHS compartment?
Oh, I never had the built-in one.
Oh, we did. So VHS were tapes. I'm assuming you know what those are. So it was before Netflix, before DVDs, our movies and everything.
VHS Ashley has heard of.
Okay, so there were these giant tapes. That's how you would watch movies. But these TVs, these tiny little TVs, came with like a VCR, which is what you put them in, built into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you would just pop in whatever movie.
I had this TV, and this was not from my youth. This was actually, if anything, from my parents' youth, my mom's. I found it in my grandmother's attic, and it was a little antenna TV. It's like this tall, and it was so old that it had like that wood grain casing on it. You know what I'm talking about? And it had a little handle on the back, and it only had the channels that you can get through the antenna. So like channels 1 through 13 or something. And it was black and white.
You can't do that anymore, right?
You can't, I don't think. But I used to put it in my room, and like an old person, even though I was 9 years old, I would watch, was it not Nick at Night? Because that was on Nickelodeon. Whatever was on Channel 11 in New York, WPIX, late at night. So it was like The Honeymooners, shows like that. The Honeymooners is the only one that I really remember. Maybe I Love Lucy.
Oh.
All of those reruns I watched. Now, keep in mind, there were color TVs everywhere by the time I was doing this. Color TV was very much a thing. But that's what I had in my room growing up. I didn't have like a real TV.
My dad had a handheld version of that. So when he would go like fishing for the weekend and sleep in his van, he would bring it like, so it'd be a little bit, well, a little longer than your phone, but it was super thick. And it had a long antenna, and he would watch the Yankee games on there. We
actually took those color TV. My mom used to have them in the basement because that's where she would do laundry, so that she should have a TV down there. And then we had 2 of them, I believe, in the house. And we took both of them to my friend Jimmy's wedding because Jimmy decided to get married on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was the first Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Giants. And we were like, well, we're not going to not watch this game.
Did the bride flip out that there were TVs?
She was more mad when we were all outside at the bar watching the game and not in the hall. So she had the venue turn off the TVs. So basically there's a group of people around my table, a group of people around my dad's table, and we had these little antenna TVs. And then
that happens when you get married on Super Bowl Sunday. You know it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Then I think the last half of the fourth quarter, when the game was really close, I think someone went and paid the bartender and was like, listen, I don't care if she comes out here. I will get thrown out of this place. Here's $100. Please put this TV on. And they did. And that was more acceptable because it was everyone watched the last like 9 minutes and then went back in.
9 minutes? That's a lot of songs.
Something like that.
Shout out to Book BJB. They said they had the small TV combo, but it was their first time chatting, so that's awesome.
The VCR TV combo?
Yeah. There's a few. Did someone say something about Ashley not knowing what Blockbuster was? I'm not even explaining. Just go watch the documentary.
It's funny. I'm actually listening to the audiobook written by the CEO of Netflix, or I guess the former CEO of Netflix. I can't remember what his name was, but pretty good read. And this is right. It came out right before Netflix started to collapse, so maybe not as timely, but he explains why he thought of the idea for Netflix. And the idea for Netflix was really based on the fact that Blockbuster and other movie rental companies made all of their money by punishing customers.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a bad business model. Your business model should not be based on punishing people for using your product, because they wouldn't make most of their money on rentals. They would make a lot of their money on late fees. He's like, well, if I can cut the penalty part out of the DVD or rental process, because DVDs were still very new, I think I can make something that at least can be added to Blockbuster's arsenal, because they originally pitched it for $50 million for Blockbuster to buy Netflix and then roll it into the company, and Blockbuster said, nope.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
They lost a lot.
But Tell how he tested out the DVDs.
Oh, this was interesting. So I'm only in the first like 3 chapters of the book, but a friend while he was on a trip had told him about DVDs, about this new technology that was about to be released. And because it was so new, he couldn't find any DVDs. So what he did was he bought CDs, put them in an envelope,
A mailer.
and mailed them back to his home. By the time he got home from this trip, they were already there. It cost him like 30 cents per CD. And CDs and DVDs are the same size, obviously, same weight. And he said, "You know what? I think this can be a thing.
Crazy.
I think we can send these."
We're-
Oh, you're the one. Ha ha.
My kidney stone's falling out.
Come on over, Carla Marie. It's funny when it's you. It's not
I was
me.
sitting here. I was like, what's happening?
All right. You know what? We came on late, unfortunately, today, so this is going to be a slightly shorter show. But by the time I fix this, it's going to take like 20 minutes. So let's just call it a day. Here, come on over. Are we out of here? I wish you could like poke your ear, like pick your own ear, but you can't.
Why does that happen?
Because GoPro could make the best streaming cameras out there, and they just refuse. But we're out of here.
Maybe that shaking will make my kidney stone come out.
I don't think that's how it works.
We might see you Thursday.
We are out of here. We'll keep you posted and post on our socials, especially on Carla Breen Anthony on Instagram if you want to follow that. We'll also send out a newsletter, so make sure you're subscribed. Carla Marie, last words?
Happy birthday to your brother, Justin, tomorrow.
It is his birthday tomorrow. Peace.